Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting my kicks out here on Route 66. It looks like we already have a victorious test taker in the house. So ring the bell for that testing victory. Always very gratifying when our channel contributes to test-taking victories like Alvin's. If you have a question tonight, we're here every Tuesday. It's one of our rituals that we do, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And if you miss it, it's available as a replay podcast episode. If you do have a question, it's helpful if you tell me what exam you're taking. I have a couple questions that were sent in. If you have a question, you want to submit it early, that's fine. You can do so at Livestream at guruexamprep.com. And I had somebody send a question, and from the question, it looks like she's taking maybe a 4, a 9, or 24. I certainly hope it's not her 7 prep vendor who's, giving her these questions. I mean, because if it's a 7, you're not going to see it anyways. And I just feel really bad when some test prep vendors are making people do margin questions they're never going to see on the Series 7. So anyways, that's helpful, not necessary, but helpful. We're here for primarily content, but also fun and fellowship. My channel is the best free supplement to your paid study materials. I've organized the channels by playlists. So if you're taking the SIE, for example, there are 4 playlists. Those playlists are in suggested watch order. The first is a podcast series that gives you a nice overview. The videos in those playlists are in suggested watch order. So if you want to binge, that's the way to do so. If you're looking for a particular topic, we have over 1,500 hours of content, over 1,100 videos. And, you don't want to try and find a needle in a haystack. So the most efficient way is to put into the channel search bar whatever you're looking for. And then that content that is available will magically appear. I can't tell you how many times people ask me to go over a question that I've done 5 times and it's on video, and they could just put that in the channel search bar. No need to track me down with an email. Put that in the channel search bar, accrued interest, margin, whatever it may be, and see what pops up before you reach out to me. If you're looking for paid supplement, best paid supplement, in my opinion, is the Kaplan QBank. If you don't have a Kaplan QBank, any Kaplan product, by the way, you can use the discount code. The discount code for Kaplan products, I highly recommend the QBank, is Guru15 at checkout. Brian Lee, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC, managing member, also gives our viewers a 20% discount on his content. He's got a nice video series, a nice, great practice exam with very strong correlation, and that is Guru20. Guru20. All right, let's go over the questions that were submitted earlier. The question that was submitted earlier is, what is the difference between portfolio margin? Let me get rid of my banner here. Where is my banner? Boom, boom, boom. Let's get rid of that. There we go. And so the question was submitted earlier is, what's the difference between portfolio-based margin and strategy-based margin? Well, strategy-based margin, I'm going to give you an example of it in just a second. It's how we've been doing it for decades. So you tell me you want to short the stock and short a put. And so then I look at that and I say, okay, well, the short put isn't going to blow you up, because if you get exercised, you're going to use the stock to make delivery. So I'm not going to have a margin requirement for that short put because you're covered. I'm going to go over that in length in just a little bit, because that was the other question. The margin requirement there is based on the strategy. Portfolio-based margin is based on your entire portfolio. The idea here is that the portfolio as a whole would be determining your requirements, right? And it's it looks like I got a typo there, but it's the entire portfolio rather than the individual positions and strategies. If this ever shows up, I think very, very low probability. But if it does show up, what you're going to be asked about is the minimum equity being $100,000. And maintenance calls are not due promptly. We're going to give you some more time to come up with meeting whatever deficiency there is in the account. Again, I think it's very low probability. I think it's even low probability on 4, 9, or 10. This person didn't tell me what exam they're taking. I think it's more of a test prep vendor thing than it is an actual test question. Now, here's an example of a strategy-based margin requirement. Again, if you're taking a 7, who cares? This would only be if you're taking a 4 or a 9 that this would ever come into play. So you say, hey, Dean, I want to obligate myself to buy 100 shares of Apple at any time between now and December at 2:30, and I'm going to collect that 9 points. I say, okay, well, that is a uncovered naked option, and Apple is at 233. So what I'm going to ask you to come up with is 20% of the market value. Right now, Apple's at 23.3, so 20% of that would be whatever that is. Let me just see here. Looks like I messed up on the margin requirement there, but I'm going to take Apple's market value, 2,300, right? 100 times 233 equals 23.3 times 20%. That's $4,660. I'm going to let you slide for the amount that it's out of the money because it's not likely somebody's going to stick Apple to you at 230 when Apple's 233. So I'm going to take the out of the money amount. That's minus 300. And then I'm going to let you make you leave the premium in there, which is 900. So you're going to have whatever that number is, right? Now, the second question they sent me, and that was strategy-based margin, right? I'm asking you for 20% of the market value, less the out of the money amount, plus the current premium. That's the margin requirement for a naked uncovered option. Minimum maintenance on that is going to be 10% of the market value and the current premium. Now, the question that she asked me about is, well, Dean, what if it's covered? This drives me nuts. We're not asking about this as a strategy. When we say, is it covered, we're asking about that short put. Please note that's the same contract. Here you're obliged, same contract, to buy 100 shares of Apple at any time between now and December at 2:30. And you're collecting 9, but now you have that short stock position. So I am not going to make you come up with that 20% madness. The other way you could come up, cover that short put without being short to stock would be to have cash equal to the aggregate exercise price, right? I had a client who wanted to write 10 240 puts. I said, well, you're obligating yourself, Mark, to buy 1,000 shares at 240. That's 240 grand. And I'm not going to ask you for the 20% of the market value, less the out of the money amount, minus the current premium, because, Mark, you actually have 240 grand in cash in the account. You have cash equal to the aggregate exercise price. So again, this was what she asked, what is the covered put? What this means is you don't have to do it. Now, the reason this drives me nuts is because this still has unlimited risk potential, right? So, that's the problem. I was a consultant very early in E-Trade's history, and I had to, tell the programmer guys that they were kind of messing up margin requirements. They would tell people, hey, well, you don't have to come with the 20% if you short the stock. I go, and they said, we get a lot of pushback. I go, yeah, because you're asking somebody to go from limited risk, short put, to unlimited risk, short the stock and short the put. Short the put, you're a bull. Short the stock, short the put, you're a bear. So no wonder they're mad. It means you don't know what you're talking about. Right? So I hope that was helpful. If you're Susan, if you're on the call, I hope that was helpful for you. All right, let's see what's going on in the comments. Let's see what's going on in the comments and see what we can help you for. And I'm just checking here. I get nervous when the phone starts binging and dinging because I'm, who knows what's going on. All right, so kudos to Alvin. He just wanted to stop by and say thank you for the support. Thank you for watching the videos. Hard to believe, Alvin. We just came up past can you believe it's 1 million watch hours? That's crazy. 1 million watch hours. That just blows my mind. Yeah, give kudos. I don't know why you wouldn't want to believe in me when I tell you what's on the test, but we do have a victorious test taker in the house. And maybe Alvin will provide you with some debrief if you ask politely. Remember, every draw of the exam is different. So you don't do, when somebody else is telling you what they encountered on their draw, be careful. I wish for all of you a dream draw. Everything you studied shows up. You go, what was the big deal, right? But you got to be able to take down even a face of death draw if you get it right. Mallory, past the 7. All right. Woo. Yeah, I'm trying to do different things, Mallory, for the community. I have some plans for the first of the year for next year and how we can increase the community. I'd be interested, anybody who's interested, because I always joke, I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to help you pass your exam. So our community is kind of turning over a lot because we have people who are victorious on year 7. And then I guess you'll be victorious on year 63. And then our season's over. And, I don't take it personal, but people say, hey, Dean, it's time to move on. So one of the things I'm thinking about doing is maybe like we're going to start a little book club that meets once a month. And, first book is going to be She Wolves. She Wolves is about legendary ladies of Wall Street, like Muriel Siebert. And what I thought we would do is have a book discussion. For those of you who've already passed, might just be fun. And for those of you who already haven't passed your exam, I'm going to try and pick books that have some kind of a testable content as well. Like Schwab's memoir, Invested, or Ricketts' memoir, The Harder I Work, the Luckier I Get. So I'm thinking of that, Mallory. I'm also thinking about maybe adding a live stream or something for people who have passed their exams. If I haven't done it in years, but I used to do sales training as well and help people, build a book of business as baby brokers. Maybe do something like that for people who want to stick around and, have a support group in terms of building a book or whatever it may be. So trying to think of some things we can do. Ready for the bell. All right, Lady Brill. You deserve it, Lady Brill. You were dedicated, you were disciplined, you were organized, and that's what it takes to make the mark. So I am so happy for you. So happy for you. That's 65. Now listen, Lady Brill, Mallory might get upset with me because she just passed her 7 and she said we're really good about that testing victory. I personally think the 65 is the hardest exam. And the reason I think it's the hardest exam is because it's got like a baby 7 component. It's got all that regulatory stuff. And there's really no narrative thread to that 65. It's all over the place. The 7 kind of has a narrative thread to it. Function 1, find a customer. Function 2, open an account. Function 3, make an investment. Function 4, what happens next? You have 65s here. It's there. It's, everywhere. So kudos, investment advisor representative. Again, we have now 3 victorious test takers in the house. We got Alvin, we got Mallory, we got Lady Brill. Woo! Love it, love it, love it. Don't have a question. Oh, man, what a night. Woo! All right. I call that, Melinda, the triple crown, whatever you want to call trifecta. I call the hat trick. A hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame. And in fact, Melinda, we have one of our Guru Nation communities. We have lots of them. Well, I don't think lots of enough that it's hard for me to keep up. But we have a Facebook group, Melinda, and we call it Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Baby brokers is a term of endearment for rookies in the securities industry. And then that hat trick is the 3 testing victories like you have, whether it's SIE 763, or in your case, SIE 663 or SIE 766. And that's what we call our Facebook group, Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. We also have some Reddit communities. We have R Series 7 for the SIE and for the Series 7. We have the R66 for 63, 65, 66 NASA exams. And we have R Series 24 for 9, 10s, and 24s. I was talking to Mallory about trying to build a better community. I'm thinking about, again, I'm just tossing out ideas here with you guys as part of the community. Maybe doing a Discord server where we just have a Discord server for the community as well that is, again, not focused completely on exams. So I'm giving some thought. I got to be careful because I do consider myself to be a semi-retired stockbroker, and I've accidentally, created a full-time job, and I'm not sure that I'm interested in that level of commitment. So, but maybe I'll hire a social media manager or something, maybe I can become like the Wizard of Oz and, be behind the scenes. I'm taking the SIE and having the hardest understanding calls and puts. So Tay, I'm going to try and get permission. I just did a tutoring session with somebody for the SIE, and they wanted to talk about options. We did an hour, and I think I covered everything that would be found on your SIE with the exception of strategies. Now, in his case, he's going on to take a Series 6. And I told him, well, it doesn't matter because, if you can get past the SIE, there's maybe 4 or 5 option questions. Most of them are recognition. Like, when do options expire? How does the OCC assign exercise notices? Index options settle in cash. The option agreement has to be back within 15 days. That is the vast majority of the option questions you're going to encounter on the SIE. Maybe a strategy or two question. If you tell me you missed your mark on your SIE because of that, I'd say, you had bigger problems. I will link to my introduction to options lecture, which I think is sufficient for the SIE, and I'll put that in the video description. But where I think, Tay, a lot of people get hung up is they think there's a zillion types of things going on. There's not. There's only two types of contracts, calls and puts. You can either buy them or sell them. And so that means we have four basic option positions. So, Tay, option contracts exist outside of the securities industry. So let me give you an example of a call contract outside of the securities industry. I went to this car dealer and I said to the car dealer, I said, listen, I'd like to give you $3,000. He said, well, what's the catch? People don't give you money unless there's some kind of catch. I said, for this $3,000, what I'd like to be able to do is call away from you. I would like a choice to buy the first one of those cars off the boat from Japan on a when issued basis. He said, well, Dean, the manufacturer's suggested retail price is 24. I said, well, if I thought you would sell that to me for 24, I wouldn't be offering you $3,000 right now. So he says, okay. Now I'm going to want something in written form from him. I, car dealer, agree to sell said vehicle for 25 grand in consideration of the three. That's a call contract. I have a choice to call the car away at 25. That's the strike price. Anyways, several weeks later, he called me. He said, Dean, the car is here and I want to talk to you. I said, cool, I'm on my way. He's in Long Beach. I'm in San Francisco. And I get there and he says, Dean, I just had an offer for 32. I said, wow. I said, I have a choice to buy it for 25. And now you just told me it's worth 32. Wow. My contract's worth $7,000. I paid $3,000. And he said, yeah, Dean, what I wanted to see is, would you be willing to trade that contract back to me? I would like to extinguish the obligation I have to you. And I said, well, unfortunately, the answer is no, because I want the car. So I am exercising my contract. So I paid $25,000 for the car, $3,000 for the option. So my break even is $28,000. Now, the distinction, Tay, is that in SIE, the underlying interest isn't going to be an automobile. It's going to be a stock. But the same general idea, right? I pay 3 points to be able to call away a stock at 25. If it's 28, I break even. Higher than 28, 32, I make 4 points. We have put contracts outside the securities industry. By the way, I just noticed that you said in all the math. On the SIE, there is no math. I mean, maybe one break even, maybe one, and you could guess B, assign it to the universe, and you'd be fine. So, don't overdose on options as it relates to the SIE. Be careful what I just said as it relates to the SIE. I have some ladies I'm working with today on their SIE, and they're going on to a 7. In their case, I said, well, we should suck it up and pay the price now because we don't want to kind of wobbly on the SIE. Here's an example of a put contract. I was going to lease a high-end automobile. And the car dealer told me that at the end of the lease, the car is going to be worth $60,000 or more. I go, really? I said, I don't believe that since I'm the guy who's going to be driving the car around. You and I have opposite expectations about the price of this car at the end of the lease. He goes, well, yeah. I go, I'd like to give you $4,000. I'd like to pay you a premium. He said, well, what's the catch? People don't give you money unless there's some kind of catch. I said, well, listen, for this $4,000, I would like the choice to sell, a choice to put the car to you at the end of the lease for $60,000. He said, well, Dean, what if it's 60 or higher? I go, well, obviously, if I can sell this car in the auto trader for 70, I ain't going to stick it to you at 60. And he says, okay. So I'm going to want a written contract. I, car dealer, agree to buy said vehicle at the end of the lease. That's important. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. At the end of the lease for 60. So let's say it's the end of the lease, then the car is 40 grand. And he says, I wonder if Dean's going to show up today. Absolutely. He says, Dean, you're making me pay 60 for a car that's only worth 40. I go, absolutely. I said, he goes, I'm going to lose 20. I go, no, I gave you 4. You get to keep that. You're only down 16. By the way, the end of the lease means that option example I gave you there, Tay, is test question European style. Please note, I couldn't show up anytime and make him give me $60,000. Now, that would be the same as if we were talking about a 60 put on a stock for 4. A 60 put on the stock at 4 would be 56. At 40, I'd make 16 points. The distinction is in the exam, the underlying interest is going to be a stock or an index or something like that. But again, for your SIE, I wouldn't worry too much about that. And I will link in the video description. I think, Tay, you may be joining us I don't recognize you from our other Tuesday ritual live stream Q&As. And what we do, Tay, is I link in the video description anything I discuss with you. So here you'll find in the, I might not do it tonight because it's election night, but within 24 hours, I'll put it that way. I will put a link in the video description to the full-blown video for whatever it is, right? So check that out. Michelle, 65, passed last Tuesday. Man, what a night. 4th try. Oh, Michelle, I love that. 4th try. So Michelle passed more than one test. She passed her 65, which I told you is a real challenge. But more importantly, she passed a test of her resiliency. And passing that test, Michelle, a test of your resiliency, I think is a very good leading economic indicator of your success in our securities industry. So I'll tell you, that's when we find out what people are made of when they suffer a little misfortune and then how they recover. By the way, Michelle, one of my best brokers took the test 5 times. And, people invest with you because they like you and they trust you, not because you can pass a test. I think it's so funny. I think it's hilarious. There's a tutor who's, in his bio, his curriculum vitae to get you to sign up with his, says he got a 94 on the Series 7. And every time I see that, I kind of go to myself, well, good thing he's not working for me because I would fire him on the spot if he got a 94. That's back from the days when we gave scores. He said, why are you firing me? I say, because you're smarter than me. How am I going to supervise you? And if you're 95, you're just proving you're a bigger jerk as the person who took the test. And we're going to spend more time in the office together and probably with my family. And so I think we should just part company. Anyways, my best broker, Michelle, he would go out to people and say stuff like, if anybody knows this stuff, it's me, man. I had to take the damn test 4 times. 5 times. So for the rest of you, let's be clear. I'm not recommending anything other than you pass your exam the first time. That is what you should do. But boy, if you get that reverse, so kudos for sticking with it. I just love it. By the way, I don't know. We keep, the live stream. We don't know, but I bet, Michelle, that tastes sweet. I think the 4th time would be a sweeter taste of victory than that first time. Well, SROs, I guess, Victoria, what I would tell you is that self-regulatory organizations don't have badges, don't have guns. What I mean by that is FINRA, the New York, the MSRB cannot throw you in jail. Now, short of that, they can do pretty much anything else. They can fine you, they can suspend you, they can expel you. So, that's one thing I would know about the self-regulatory organizations. Self-regulatory organizations publish rules. And the MSRB, for example, publishes rules, but has no enforcement power. And, you probably should know a couple of their rules, like G20, the gift or gratuity rule being a max of $100. G37, campaign contributions have to be able to vote, $250. So I don't know. If specifically should we know? I guess I'd be rich if I could tell you specifically what you should know. I gave you a couple. I would definitely know that the SEC is not an SRO. Right. So Victoria, I joke if they say, Dean, the SEC is on line 2 and FINRA is on line 1. I'm picking up line 2. Line 1, I say I'm a member too. The SRO is a membership organization, right? Line 2 is not a SRO. That's the SEC. They say, Gene, do you know who we are? I go, oh yeah, you have primary jurisdiction, interpretation, and enforcement of the domestic securities laws of the United States of America. That's a much different thing. So I think the way to attack that, Victoria, would be to give me a more specific question that you have encountered in practice questions about SROs. But I think the SRO questions would be sufficient in terms of practice, drilling, and rehearsing. It would be the way I would get that under control. I would comment a little further about FINRA. I would know that FINRA has a code of procedure, the COP, that's very testable. They have a code of conduct, and they have a uniform practice code. And I would know under FINRA, the SRO, what those all are about. The code of procedure is about trade practice complaints, the Department of Enforcement. The code of conduct is the ethical behavior that associated persons, broker dealers owe customers. The uniform practice code standardizes trading practices within the securities industry. Halfway through the 7 material, open to take in December. All right, cool. Brock, I think that's the way to do it. You know, first thing on your agenda should be to read the book cover to cover. Sometimes, Brock, when I tell somebody to read the book cover to cover, they're incredulous. What? They say, you know, how long is that going to take? And I say, I don't know. It depends how quick you read. Why don't you read for an hour? See how many pages you've read to get your, you know, page rate. And then you take the pages in your book and you divide by that read rate, and that'll tell you how many hours that's going to take. Yeah. By the way, I wouldn't read it for take notes or anything. You want to read it the first time, Brock, just cover to cover as close to one setting as possible, just to see what's in there. Right. And then circle back with a highlighter or notes as you move your way through the various units. Right. So that would be it. Now, when I get weak, people, oh, I got to read the book. I go, yeah, you got to read the book. You got to read the book. I go, yeah, you got to read the book. When I get weak, Brock, I sometimes will say, okay, you don't have to read the partnership, the margin, or the balance sheets. Did I just say that? Oh my God. I'm going to lose sleep having said that. Right. So I'm glad to read the book. Then you circle back, you start doing the units. You do unit 1, you do 30, 40 questions on unit 1, get a 75%. You move on to unit 2, you get a 75% on 30, 40 practice questions. You do not move on. You do not move on. Now you do a custom quiz, unit 1, unit 2, move on to unit 3, assuming you got a 75%, do 30, 40 questions, get a 75%. And again, you don't move on. Custom quiz, unit 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. You want to make sure you're bringing up that caboose. You don't want to get to the end and then have forgot stuff that you learned at the beginning of your studying effort. Good evening, Dean. Taking the test on November 11th. I love it. This upcoming Monday. Love it. Scored 69, 74, 73, 70, 76. I think you're fine. Well, I like it, man. You're, you know, Anthony, I don't know if you served in the armed forces of the United States of America. I served in the Marine Corps. I love it. One shot, one kill. I like it. You're right. Make sure your aim is true. I was tutoring a young lady today, Anthony, and I said, hey, just before you squeeze that trigger on your answer, just, you know, make sure it's the answer you want, right? What can make the difference? Well, I like where you're at. I really do. I mean, I don't see any red flags there. I mean, I'm a little more forgiving, perhaps. I like those scores, particularly the last one. If you stay in the mid 70s, I think you're fine. So you just need to stick the landing. I actually prefer scores like that. Sometimes people say, oh, you should be in the 90s. And I worry about that. I mean, that's good. I mean, higher is the better for sure, Anthony. However, when you get higher, so high scores, like the ladies I was tutoring for the SIE this morning were chatting up how well they did on the FINRA practice exam on that site. And I was impressed too until they told me it was like their 5th time they've done it. And I go, well, then that's not so good. I mean, it's still good questions, but it loses its diagnostic approach. I don't see who your test prep vendor is here. And the reason I ask that is because we want to make sure, Anthony, that those scores have correlation to the actual exam. So if those scores are coming from Kaplan, STC, Knopman, Past Perfect, I think you're all good. If those scores are coming from Achievable, I'd be concerned because Achievable doesn't have as good a correlation to the actual exam. So if you're using Achievable with those scores, I would go to my practice tests, queue up one of them, Test Geek or wherever, you know, do it there just to see if that score confirms. If it confirms, then all is good. Illinois, Ivy, how are you? I think Ivy, I think you won, and we were talking about putting up a class, as I believe. And I think what I'm going to put up on the for the class, I forget your test date and I forget what you're doing, but I was thinking margin. Could you send me an email and tell me that works for you? I know you sent me an email with what's on there, but I got to decide on that rather quickly. And so if you have a particular, I know you sent me the email with what you'd like. And, maybe you can, just, help me isolate that a little bit and then be looking, because remember, you're going to get that class for free whenever I put it up there. And then remember, Ivy, we do a drawing at the end of our time together. And I obviously don't communicate this very effectively. So yeah, I'll try it again. If you win our drawing at the end of the evening, what you get is access to my office hours. Those are free for paid students. And so you get that without being a paid student. I do that every other Wednesday. Sometimes you might be the only one there. It's not likely. I cap it at 5. But if you are, well, then that's a $250 value, because that's what I charge for tutoring. You also get access to the live stream, which everybody has access to. And then any scheduled class I have on my booking page, you get that for free as well. Yeah, that is a paywall. So, I'm going to have to send Ivy a link to get past the paywall. I failed the 66. Damn. Retaking it on the 30th. I missed the mark on client investment recommendations and strategies. How should I restudy? What I always recommend, Colby, and I'll link in the video description, is my podcast episode called You Failed. Is it over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. It isn't over. And in there, I have 5 recommendations about how to respond to that misfortune. And one of my recommendations is that you go immediately, Colby, and get the test specifications, the PDF from NASA. And what I want you to do is an intellectual inventory, a debrief with yourself. And go to that section of the test specifications outline. And what I want you to do is put a plus, the whole thing, but on that particular thing. Plus means you don't think that was the issue. 0 means you think you were at par, passing, and then minus. Counterintuitive, we're looking for minuses, lots of them, because that means we can fix it, right? So what I would like you to do is then look at the minuses, and then you would remediate on those minuses. So that's what I would recommend. That's one of the 5 recommendations you can find in that podcast episode, and I will link that to the in the video description. By the way, I told you about the channel search bar. You could also just put failed in this channel search bar, and that video will come up. Thanks, Austin, from joining us from LinkedIn. Our preferred platform is YouTube, but we do broadcast to Facebook. We broadcast to LinkedIn, and we broadcast to YouTube. And so I'm always glad to see people joining us from Facebook and LinkedIn. Coming Tuesday, which videos of yours should I prioritize? Been focusing on test prep material so far. So Austin, I will link in the video description to my podcast episode that Brian and I did, The Geek and the Guru, or The Guru and the Geek, I forgot what we call it, but it's a 4 or 5 episode podcast series. I would watch that start to finish. I have 4 playlists. I then have lectures, and then lectures are in suggested watch order. And then I have practice tests and practice questions, and those are in suggested watch orders. So I have plenty for you. But again, I've already prioritized the playlist in my channel. These playlists are prioritized, the videos in them. But it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But start with that podcast episode. And then make sure before Tuesday you watch my Series 66 in 60 minutes. I'll link to that in the video description. Read the comments. A lot of people find that helpful. You're not going to learn it the night before or the morning of, but I made that video to kind of get people into a flow. I have it for every series. I have your series in 60 minutes. That's IE 766. And what I hope it accomplishes is to get your brain kind of thinking about your test, because it's not a natural circadian rhythm on Tuesday morning to wake up and be thinking 66, right? So for sure do that one. The other one I would highly recommend, and I'll link, is called the Mighty 90. The Mighty 90 is 90 minutes on the Uniform Securities Act. It's target rich. When I'm teaching the Uniform Securities Act, it usually takes me about 4 hours to get through it. I thought, let's see if I can do it in 90 minutes. So, the YouTube, you can speed it up or slow it down. So, maybe you can make your choice about how you want to attack that. So that would be my recommendations. Let's see, what else? I have, Austin, also a practice tests where you can hit pause and watch myself and the student do a practice exam and talk about the issues as well. So that would be my recommendation. But I'll link to those videos in the video description. All right. Woohoo. All right, Nathan. I like it. I like it. I love it. It's very gratifying when the YouTube channel contributes to test taking victories like yours. I like what you said there. Helped a lot. You know, my channel is not a substitute for your paid study materials. It's a free supplement. I can't tell you how many people say, do I have to buy a book and buy a course? The answer is yes, you do. But in terms of a supplement, we're here for you. I think we did this one already, did we not? Did I accidentally do this one again? Third attempt got the death draw. 10. Wow. Wow. Well, Lady Bro, 10 calculate. I guess there's two ways to think about that, Lady Bro. I'd be interested if you want to comment on that. Hey, the other thing, Lady Bro, if you're up to it, or Mallory, man, we got so many victorious test takers. I was thinking what we might do. I'd like your input on this. Alvin, Mallory, Lady Brill. I think we got some other people too. You can send me an email at dean@Guru Exam Prep if you'd be interested in being a guest rather than just being in the chat. What I mean by that is, you know, like when I have Brian as guest and then Lady Brill or Mallory or Alvin, what we would do is split the screen, and then, you know, people could be asking you about your study thing, and you could tell us, you know, about your trials and tribulations and so forth. So let me know if you think, if you're not a victorious test taker, just let me know if you think that would be something you'd be interested in seeing on these live streams. The original point I was going to make is either that's good news or bad news for the 10 calculations. And what I mean by that is it's good news if you're prepared for them, because there's no interpretation of a math question. You simply get it right or you get it wrong. So we got to make sure we can perform, particularly the math that we know that is high probability. On a 65, 66, that's going to be total return. It's going to be current yield. It's going to be the annualized return, tax-free, taxable equivalent yields, balance sheet calculations, working capital, current ratio, quick ratio, debt to total capital. Is that 10, Lady Brill? I think I got 10 there. So it sounds like she may have got every one of them. You like that? Okay, cool. So I did She-Wolves. I think in the community post, I've got the title and a little review of that book. And I'm thinking January we'll start. And I think we'll do like once a month is what we're going to do. Hey, Isaac, what's up, my friend? I know you're coming up here on the schedule. Should be, I would think. I think you and I are spending a couple hours together here in the near future. There we go. For those still studying, second attempt. Wow. I love it. We've, you know, what a great evening. We got a lot of victorious test takers. And like I say, there are victorious test takers. There should be an extra badge or something, right? Who also had a little bit of a, you know, more of a challenge perhaps. And I'm not kidding about that. I just think that's a wonderful, it doesn't seem like a wonderful thing now, but as you progress through your career, you know, we'll know. And by the way, your firm knows too. The firm doesn't really care. Most firms don't care about that first miss or even a second miss. What they care about is how you respond to that. Like I always tell you about my broker who failed 5 times, never did blame me. He would just assume I'm going to keep him around. I'm going to try better next time. And, you know, so we got proof of those folks and their resiliency and their fortitude, which I think is more important than, you know, actually passing the test long term. And don't get me wrong, passing the first time is the preferred method. But by the way, I didn't ask Alvin and Lady Brill and Mallory. But the other thing is a lot of people who are testing aren't full-time studiers. And, you know, some men and women get 4 months with pay and all they're supposed to do is pass the test. And to be honest with you, a lot of those men and women don't really have a lot of other things going on. Like, you know, let's see, today I had 3 moms in tutoring sessions, and, you know, they got kids, and some of them have a husband, not a husband. I mean, you know, they have a different career and they're transitioning. And oh my goodness, I mean, just trying to carve out the study time is a challenge. A credit default swap. Yeah, a credit default swap is where I can exchange the risk with somebody else. So in other words, if I buy a credit default swap, I'm saying if the issuer defaults, you're going to pay me some money. So I'm not sure if it was used as a distractor or it was actually used as an answer for you. Do you recall, was it a distractor or was it actually an answer to a question? I would be interested to know what you thought about that. It's a derivative, by the way. It's an option, and it allows you to swap the credit risk with another investor. So I say, hey, listen, I'll pay you X number of dollars if you'll assume the credit risk in these Boeing bonds, for example. It would be interested, Cameron, to see what a credit default swap costs on Boeing. I think probably less than it did last week, because last week the mechanics were on strike, or excuse me, the engineers, I think, were mechanical lab, somebody was striking big time. They were running out of money. They hadn't got their securities offering together. Now they've got their securities offering, sold some new stocks and bonds, and they got the workers coming back. So now they're still investment grade. They didn't get down to junk. But I would imagine I would have made money, Cameron, on a credit default swap as their financial situation was deteriorating, because it becomes more valuable to be able to assign that risk. Yeah, math, Tay, on the 6, there is math. The main ones to be worried about are when given like the NAV and POP, calculates percentage sales charge. When given the percentage sales charge and NAV, calculate the public offering price. Definitely there. Current yield, knowing the distinctions between current yield and total return. I truly believe, Tay, for you, those of you taking Series 6, I truly believe that if you do a really good effort on your SIE, you can test out of a 6, because a lot of it's overlap. It's, mutual funds, variable annuities. And so I would think that that would be a reason if you're taking a 6. I told you, Tay, the person I was tutoring for the SIE today was taking the 6 next. And as I told you that, right, I told him, well, let's just do what we can do in options, because you'll be done. You won't see them again. So we just got to get past the SIE to get onto the 6. I would have not had said that had he told me he was taking a 7, because then it becomes, important. Right on. Well, somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to win. My last 4 Notman scores were 78, 81. Wow. Love that. So Daniel, you're right where you need to be, man. You're in the sweet spot. I call it, Daniel, the 747 principle. It takes a 747, 120% of rated power to get off the ground. Oh, seat back, nose up. Once you get up there, smooth sailing. 70% to keep the plane in flight. You're in flight. Those scores say all you got to do now is stick the landing. So you got to stick the landing on the 15th. How often does someone score in the mid-70s and fail? Now, I don't know why you were putting out negative vibes like that. How often does the plane fall out of the sky? I'm joking. We want to make sure, while you're circling the airport, putting your seat tray in the full, your seat back in the full upright position, and you don't run out of fuel. But very rarely, I'm pretty good at telling people when they're at risk and they're not at risk. And so, Daniel, I don't think you're at risk. I mean, if there's some variable, I had a guy testing tomorrow, and what a delight this is. You can just tell. I mean, he's done the work. I mean, he said, well, Dean, what do you think the chances are I'm going to pass? I go, well, I've only known you for the 3 hours we've shared the screen on the practice test, but I'd be surprised. I'd be very, very surprised. I would think there's some other variable. I mean, I don't want to even talk about what those could be, but natural disasters, act of God stuff, So very rarely would happen. And what I usually say it this way, Daniel, if I'm doing a class with a cohort of 20 test takers, and there's a corporate trainer, usually in those situations, we do the class Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. Friday, we do a practice test, and then Monday they're going to test. And, if I have 20 people in that class and 12 of them get over 70, I would tell the corporate trainer, I don't think we got any problems with those folks. The remaining 8, we say we have 6. They're between 60 and 70. I'd say we're going to lose half of those 3. There's no reason for that, but 3 of the 6 are going to get wobbly, and they're not going to finish strong over the weekend. And she goes, well, which 3 are they? I go, well, if we knew that, we would save them, but it's just statistics. And that particular cohort, I was so pleased. None of those 6, Daniel, got wobbly. They got between 60 and 70, and they passed. That leaves us with 2 folks. The last 2 test takers in that cohort go below 60. That's just really, really tough, because they don't have enough knowledge base to know what they're being asked and what the answers being offered to them are. And I like when people respond well. Now, these two test takers were testing Monday, regardless of what that score is. So they're going. Both of them got high 60s and then circle back and redeem themselves. So I don't think you've got any problem based on those scores. I like those scores. If I were your corporate trainer, I'd say I have every expectation you're going to do a pass. Now, I'm tough love sometimes. I had a guy and I show up in the Zoom link for the tutoring session and we did about 10 questions. I said, I don't want you to think I'm being negative here, but it's apparent that you're not in a place yet to be doing practice tests. You don't have enough knowledge base to know what you're being asked and what answers are being offered to you. So what I'd like to do is reschedule this when you're in a better spot. Now, or let's start tutoring you on the base knowledge. I mean, that's going to be expensive, but if that's what you want to do, we can continue on and I'll go get a whiteboard and we'll start working our way through this stuff. But in this case, we rescheduled. And when I showed up for the next link, I liked it because Daniel, he said, Dean, I'm halfway there. I go, well, what do you mean by halfway? He said, well, I know what I'm being asked. I'm still not quite clear what answers are being offered to me. So Daniel, we had a situation this recently. And I had told the person, I said, well, I don't know what to tell you and how much your career is at risk. It was a Daniel score that was below 60. And I said, I just think that that's not productive because below 60 means you have a knowledge deficit. Every once in a while, somebody with a below 60 will still pass. But, that the stars got to line up right. There's too many variables. And this person was telling me that they're going regardless because that's what they're going to do. We worked our ass off. This was today from Friday. And I wish people would get me involved a little sooner. I mean, as much of a miracle worker as I'd like to think I am. I mean, there's only so much we can do when the timeline is collapsing around us in terms of the execution of the study plan. Right. So, I mean, we can work as hard. I was proud. They worked their butt off, I missed the mark today. But I thought it was a good score based on where they were. And, if it was me, I probably would have rescheduled that. But, at least, they went in the cave. They got a good look at the dragon. Didn't quite get, it wasn't quite a drive-by. I mean, they, did battle. And now they'll go down there and do it again. So. Capital's question is slightly different. As compared to whose? Oh, Notman. Notman's great. I wouldn't worry about that at all. Whenever you change vendors, your scores are going to drop regardless. You go to Notman and Kaplan to Notman, or past perfect to STC. It doesn't matter. The phraseology is a little different, so that's to be expected, and you get a rhythm. I do think all of the test prep vendors are trying to model the actual exam. Let's see. I didn't see here, Daniel, what test you're taking. So the reason I asked that is at Kaplan, the subject matter experts are different people. And is it the NASAA exam? Chuck Lowenstein is, eccentric, but boy, he's on top of that. So 63, Marissa, is kind of different than the other ones. I would recommend doing as many practice tests as you possibly can. As many practice tests as you possibly can, because that's what it is: practice, drill, and rehearse. So focus on doing as many practice tests as you possibly can. I usually say no more than one a day, but on the 63, you should be able to knock out 2, 3, 4 of those things. And then as you start practice, drilling, and rehearse, that's the only exam where memorizing questions and answers, I think, will pay off. I also, Marissa, said that I'm going to link in the video description to my Mighty 90, which is the 63 in 90 minutes, right? So I'll link to that. Watch that. That's target rich. That's the entire 63 test in 90 minutes. So I think it's pretty spot on, very target rich. I think it's even better than that, Cameron. I don't even expect 2. As I just gave you an example of that with statistics. We can't now track the passing scores because we don't give them anymore. But I just told you statistically, if I'm teaching a class, I have 20 people in it, and I've been doing this for decades. I've helped tens of thousands of people pass their tests. Any cohort that I have, and there's 20 people, I would expect, again, based on the practice test scores, that I'm going to be right. In that case, I was off a little bit, Cameron, because remember, I thought 3 of the 6 were going to fail, and they didn't. But, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I've had, Cameron, I'm pretty proud of this. Sometimes I go to campus and major financial institutions. I told you I've been doing this a long time. I'll be one of the few guys who has ever walked in and out with more than one class that has 100% pass rate. Woohoo! Now that's them doing their work too, right? They're dedicated, they're disciplined, they're organized, right? So, but my 20 for 20 is not something that not be expected. I can't control the inputs there. I had a guy, it's a major broker dealer, and he's a corporate trainer, and I was doing the class, and oh my God, this guy was so on top of all of us, me and them. And I said, listen, my friend, I mean, you hired me to help out, so lighten up, will you? You're too on top of us. He was giving me a hard time because I letting people go to lunch at like 11:45 instead of 12, because there's a natural break in the material, and there's a natural break in the material. I think it's lunchtime, right? So, oh well. I like it. One shot, one kill. I love it, right? I love it. We don't always have an advantage as a Marine, or I should even say as a hunter, because Marines, know how to shoot. Anyways, but sometimes when you have an adversary, they get a little trigger happy. And your point, it's not they waste ammunition without squeezing them around and getting that. Tutor sessions can be found at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. Dean Tenney Tutoring. Let's see if I have a banner for that. I think I probably do. There we go. So deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. You can find some reviews there of my tutoring and my classes, and you can find tutoring. I'm pretty booked today. I think I don't have any openings for like the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. Tutoring with me is not a transaction. It's a relationship. And so the problem I have sometimes is when I'm working with people, we continue to work together, and that just takes up slots that aren't available for new folks. So, it depends on the timing of your exam, how much how much time you can wait. Yeah, let's see where we're at. Looks like we're down there. Boom. Oh, by the way, Tay, the ladies this morning, they're from Raymond James, and I have another Edward D. Jones. Now they call it Edward Jones. I don't know why. I always liked Edward D. Jones, but they're going in together, and I don't mind that either. If you want to form a syndicate, I have in the Edward D. Jones people, I have 9 of them who've shared the cost of the tutoring, because I'm expensive. I'm $250 an hour on the tutoring. And the ladies today, they form their Raymond James little syndicate to get the tutoring. I have zero problem with that. Hi, Dean. I'm using Kaplan for Series 24. There's so much info in the license exam manual in the last 2 chapters, which will relate to Function 5, Supervision, Investment Banking, Research. Completely understand the general concept as well as everything you've included in your YouTube. But if I have to take the Series 24, should I make sure I'm polished? No, I don't think so. Super specific material within those chapters. I don't think so, unless if you watch my videos, Corinne, I think I'm pretty good. I think. I mean, I haven't watched them in a while, but if it's something I mentioned in the video, like you over allotment is 15%, that's testable, right? The maximum syndication fees is 10%. That's testable. Roll ups in a partnership is 2%. So unless it's a number I specifically bring up in either my lecture videos on the YouTube channel or in my series 24 and 60 minutes, I would say no to that. Right. So, but yeah, there are some stuff, going passive, for example, in 5 days to cover stuff. So, there is some minutia, but do all the test prep vendors on 24 have more minutia than the actual exam? I think the answer to that is yes. So I don't think that was as helpful as an answer that I'd like to give you. But I think my videos, I don't bring up a specific number unless I think it's something you're going to have to deal with. For example, in March, I bring up debit by 0.75, credit by 1.3. That's there. So stuff like that. All right. Woohoo! Hey, listen, you got to trust yourself. You've got to be confident in the execution of your study plan. You've got to be confident in yourself. And most importantly, I'm so glad you made your mark. You've got to be confident in your answers. You can't be going, oh, what do they mean? You can't get wobbly. So I'm so happy to hear you made your mark, particularly if you were questioning the weirdness of the questions, you just got to stick with what you got, right? And I like your attitude. Hey, I'm going to assign those to the universe dean. I think they're experimental questions, and I'm going to move on, right? Shoot and move. So we've had, it sounds like some folks here with one shot, one kill. I would also tell you the other mantra is shoot and move, right? Aim and shoot, point and click, move on to the next performance opportunity. Don't get into a quagmire on a particular question where you're burning up brain cells and you're exhausting yourself, and then you don't have enough brain power to move forward to the end of the exam. So, yeah, so I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy that. The other thing I've been telling people, and again, I'm not being facetious. I've told Lady Brill, I don't know if she did it, but last week with Lady Brill, I told her to go into her bathroom every night, every morning. I told Lady Brill, I said, I want you to go look at the mirror, and I want you to say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest test taker of them all? Lady Brill, Lady Brill, Lady Brill. Hoorah. So, yeah, right, way to go. There you go. Love it. Love it. Man, I tell you, we are, man. If you're a regular in our Tuesday ritual Q&A, man, I got to tell you, what a night. What a night, man. We got all kinds of testing victories tonight. Oh, mid-70s, Bob. That's even better. 70s are better than 60s. I'm through the book. I love it. I'm about to take the 3-day crash course. Any tips? I think rinse and repeat. I think you're doing great. Whatever you're doing is working. So I would like you to take a practice test right after, not the evening of your Wednesday, but Thursday morning. Let's say it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday class. Thursday morning, take a practice test and see how much the class either helped or didn't help. Now, you may be tired. What I mean didn't help is you might not get a great score because you might be exhausted from the 3-day class. But the 3-day class, I'm glad, because that helps you confirm test issues. Right. So you've seen it in your book, you've seen a practice question, your instructor in your 3-day class is talking about it. It's on the test. If sometimes when I'm teaching a 3-day, I get off start riffing a little too far away from the test. You go, okay, well, I don't see that in the book anywhere. So, Hey, welcome. I love it, ladies. I was just talking about you guys splitting the tab and the work we did this morning and the work we're going to do. So I love it. Only time I was on The Big Short. Well, there you go. Because I think it would be a distractor as well. I think it was kind of fun. The Big Short was, I think, really different. I'm not usually a big fan of movies made after the books. So I'm not sure if you're referring to Big Short, the book by Michael Lewis, or the movie. And I think they're both great. And I think I like Michael Lewis's attitude. He said he doesn't pay any attention to the movies based on his book because he thinks it's a different art form. I sometimes am a little upset when it doesn't follow the book the way I thought it was. I don't know. You guys can tell me. I'm getting to be get off my lawn kind of guy, but I had a young lady I was tutoring today, and she was telling me I should watch this show called Industry. And I said, well, I have a little low patience level for shows like that because, I was a practitioner. And so when they have something that I know not to be accurate, it just drives me nuts. But I did read a review, and it sounded it was more like about drama and drugs and sex. And so maybe it's better than our business in the real life, right? Who knows? But anyways, I liked them both. Both the book and the movie were fantastic. So there you go. So I do think that was a distractor. Yeah, I think, Cameron, the same thing happens when people ask, Dean, what do I need to know about a butterfly? I said, well, again, unless you're taking a 4 or a 9, I don't think anything. And then every once in a while, somebody, oh, you told me not to worry about a butterfly. And I saw it in the answer set. And I go, well, there's the key. Just because it was in the answer set doesn't mean it was the answer. I said, what was the question? I go, well, no, that's not a butterfly. That's a straddle, or that's a combo, or that's a spread. So, they're good at distractors. Because we're in a low federal income tax bracket, well, no munis for them, right? We don't have anything against Anthony poor people. We just don't like talking to them. I'm joking. But, as a broker, we're looking for large pools of money, not large pools of people. Now, the exception to that would be if I'm doing mutual funds, because then I can do business with anybody. Current income, Which of the following securities would I recommend? I would probably recommend a corporate bond, and then I'd have to know about credit quality, right? They're in a low tax. Corporate bonds are taxable. They're in a low income tax bracket. So I would be looking for another pivot here about safety of principal and income. Well, then it's a U.S. Treasury security. It's certainly not a muni bond. So I would go on with a corporate bond in that scenario. No, I don't think it's 1 or 2, Austin. I would think 3, 4, 5. Now, Lady Brill took a 65. The 65, 66 are very similar. And I would think a normal calculation draw would be 3, 4, 5 on the high side for 66. Oh, okay. Now Anthony has come with the answer set. Okay, well, we can eliminate B because they want income and zero coupon bonds, zero income. That's why it's called a zero coupon bond. There's my choice. My choice was C, and I'm sticking with my choice of C. City of Milwaukee, sorry. Maybe for Giannis or Dame, but not for this person. I wouldn't have gone with the government bond because that does pay income. And it too is taxable, but you would get more return from the investment grade corporate bond than the A. Now, I don't know if you're sharing with us a practice test question or something you actually saw in the exam, but I would have gone with C in this circumstance. Studying for 65, third time in 30 days. Well, Jennifer, pressure's on, right? Because that third time, man, what study tips do you recommend? Well, I have a study plan video. I'll put in the video description. I would like to know what you did the first 2 times, right? Because, we would want to tweak that. Maybe a study plan based on the test subject matter in Kaplan. There we go. Yeah, well, the test draws can be, different. So I'm wishing for you this time a dream draw. It looks like you got 2 face of death draws. So hopefully you'll get a better draw this time. But my study tips, I'll link to my study plan. And what I recommend, if it's not the first study plan, what it would be on the third study plan. So I'll link that in the video description. Feel free, Jennifer, to go to my website. Well, it's not a website, but my booking page, deantenneytutoring.setmore.com, and join me Wednesday for my office hour. You can be my guest. I told you that's usually for paid students, but you could be my guest on that, and then we can talk about that, on a screen and talk with each other and talk about backstage what you did and what we can maybe tweak, right? Oh, I like your avatar. Been watching the content for almost a month. Thanks for everything you do. I'm studying with the SIE, going to test a month. So, all right, woohoo! I actually think I have enough SIE content to pass the SIE. I mean, I got all kinds of SIE content. I got a podcast. I got lectures. I got practice tests. I mean, I think I got 4 playlists. Definitely an investment grade corp. Yeah, I think that's the right answer. Suitability, the 3 styles of questions you get on these exams are recognition, practical application, and judgment. And, not a big part of the exams are judgment questions, but suitability questions are judgment questions. So they're a little more challenging because it's not like a flashcard thing. You got to kind of reason your way through it. And even yours truly, I miss them. I was doing some practice questions today. We were doing a shared screen practice test today. And I said, I don't know, we'll find out if we get this right or wrong. This is my answer. And then we'll see, So everybody's going to give up a couple of those. There you go. I think we're at an hour. What an hour. This hour has gone really quick. Wow. I'm usually pretty disciplined about ending this in an hour. So let's get to the bottom here and then we'll do our drawing. If you want to participate, what should be? I'll think about it. Practice exams. I'm not a big fan of Exam FX, so make sure they're a little skinny on content. So make sure you supplement with either my channel or whatever, but supplement. Can I help? Well, without actually seeing the questions, you're welcome. I explicate Joshua questions, and you can send it. So just screenshot it and send it to explicationrequest@guruexamprep.com. If you have a question and you'd like me to explicate it, I don't know if you've seen this on the channel, but people send me questions and then I make a little video explication of it and then I put it up on the channel. So send that. I respond to you personally, but I also make a little video. So why don't you find a particular question where this is happening to you and then send me a screenshot of that particular question. And then I think we can kind of, then I think I can be helpful. By the way, and I don't beat yourself up. You got to be gentle on yourself. Give yourself some grace. I had a student and he was getting 50 every time. And then he was missing. And I said, well, don't beat yourself up. You're in the hunt. I mean, and we're going to continue to get better at that. So, I was telling him not to be too hard on himself. What's the beef? Well, you can like us both. My beef with Ken is that he pays for fake subscribers, and he's done all kinds of things that I think doesn't compete on the level. So that's my beef with Ken. I think his content's fine, but he went from 35,000 subscribers to like 80,000 overnight, and they had no new comments, no new nothing. So that's my beef with Ken. I have 5 million views. I have 40,000 real subscribers. My beef with Cameron with Michael is that anytime somebody pops up on his Reddit that I was helpful to them passing their exam, he deletes it. So, my problem with him is not moderating on the level. My beef with Ken is not competing on the level. And my beef with Michael is not moderating his Reddit on the level. So, but I have no beef in terms of Ken and his content. As I always say, Cameron, nobody is a monogamous when it comes to test taking. If there's a resource that can help you, whether that's Ken, whether it's myself, whether it's Michael's Reddit, knock yourself out. Pass the SIE today onto the Series 7. Your video on the test tricks, yeah, that's got 150,000 views. So I'm glad you found that helpful. Was very confident going into the exam, scoring 85. Yeah, same for rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Mira, you did all right. Oh, you even did it in the middle of your exam. I love it, Lady Brill. I love it. I love it. Thursday, STC. Yeah, I think you're okay. I would like a higher score, but hey, we'll take it. I think that's fine. If we're a betting person, Bradley, I think you're going to make your mark. I think, Cameron, in my opinion, well, let me qualify by saying, besides the esoteric exams, like 27, 28, I think 65 is one of the hardest because, again, it doesn't have a narrative flow to it, But, I had a guy today wanted me to tell him that I think the 66 is harder than the 7. I go, well, no, it's different. And I said, for some people, they find it not as hard and other people find it harder. So, there you go. Easiest? I don't know. I don't have an easiest because, again, everybody's different. I mean, people are challenged. Some people are not good test takers. So I don't think I wouldn't be comfortable. This is the easiest way to fail a NASA or FINRA exam. Here's the easiest way to fail is hubris. Not respecting each and every exam you are taking. You got to approach each and every exam with respect. And I got to tell you, Cameron, I think a lot of those 7s who miss their 66, it's because of hubris. They don't respect it because they're 2-0. They should feel good about themselves. They got a pep in their step. And then somebody tells, oh, 66 was easy, man. And for some persons, I told you that might be for them. Like, oh, he said it's easy. Okay, it's easy. Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of stuff was on my 7. So I would never tell somebody an exam is easy because that's just setting yourself up for a missing of the mark. So you should treat each and every exam with respect. All right. Like I said, I don't want to continue the beef, so I'll leave that comment alone. But, we're different. We're different, right? Okay, so now we got to decide what should be our word for the chat. Does anybody have any ideas for the Wheel of Fortune? I'm about to put the word into the Wheel of Fortune. You put it in the chat, and then we do our drawing. So does anybody have any ideas for the giveaway word? And boom, let me get that going. Expungement. I like that one. Jerome says, election. I like that even better. Let's do election. You got to put it in exactly the way you see it on my Wheel of Fortune. So let me now show you the Wheel of Fortune. Share screen. And boom. Can you guys see the screen there? Let me get rid of Joshua there. We'll do expungement. If you join us next week, Joshua, remind me and we'll put that in there. So the word is election. Oh, I like that, Lady Brill. We could have done mirror. I like that one. Options. Okay, we got some good ones. Let's save those for next week. If you want to participate, put election into the chat, and then we will do the drawing. Well, remember what you win is access to my office hour every other Wednesday. That's usually only for paid students. You get free access to any classes that are scheduled. Right now, I don't have anything scheduled, but if it's on the booking page and you see it, it's yours free. And you just got to, send me, I got to send you a link for that. All of you are welcome to join me on my live stream overtime session I do every other Tuesday. We're not doing it tonight, but some Tuesdays we actually reconvene in a Zoom class and go over anything. Anybody else? Boom. And the winner is... Hey, all right. Well, you already have that because you're one of my tutoring tutees, so I love it. You're a winner. I will let you. I'll think of something different, ladies. I know we're doing a practice SIE. I tell you, in your case, I think what I'll do, ladies, is just we'll talk when we reconvene. But maybe I'll just give you an hour of tutoring since you're already tutoring and we're already doing a shared screen practice test. So we'll find out. We'll do something different or special for you. And the three of us, that's up to you. You don't have to cut Emily in on this if you don't want to. I shouldn't be assuming that you are in a syndicate for this kind of thing, but we'll figure out something for you. All right. All right, everybody. Do we have any called states? I guess don't tell me because I'm having tapes. So I don't think we're going to find this out tonight, but I'll see you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Remember, inch by inch. Your exam is a cinch, yard by yard. Your exam is hard. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.